You had questions? I've got answers. Today, I respond to comments you've sent in. Welcome into One More Night, a UCF podcast, one team, one heartbeat. It's Coach Wolf, and today I'm going to actually respond to some comments and things that people have sent in about some of the shows that I've done, especially with the 30 and 3. Biggest question that was asked of me was, well, do I have a favorite decade out of those 3 decades? Is there one that is my favorite? Now, if you go back and look at the first 10 years, the first decade, that was more of a decade of movement. We just gotten into Division One, and we weren't part of a conference, so we were independent. Really, the only thing those first couple of years is we had a great quarterback in Dante Culpepper. And so we had some exciting games and a couple of good seasons there. But the biggest thing I think was conference alignment. We started getting into conferences. We were in the Mid American Conference, the MAC, basically all those northern teams for a few years. I think it was 3, and then made the move to Conference USA. So in those beginning years, it was more about just kind of getting in and getting those spots and trying to basically get into conferences that we could eventually, play for championships and bowl bids. And so I think that first one was, a lot happened, a lot of good, things, to move us forward. But, you know, not as probably exciting as the other 2 decades. In the second decade, it was all about championships, really, and bowls. We won a championship in 2007. We won it in 2010. We lost a championship game in 12, but we had a first BCS bowl win in 2013. And then we had in 2014, we had a shared conference. And but it also had that 2015 year and decade too, which was the 0 and 12 season. So, you know, definitely some highs, but a couple of low points in there through that George O'Leary era. And then the third decade, of course, it's been a roller coaster. I mean, we start off excited about Frost. We have the undefeated season. So we're on an extreme high. But pretty much since then, it's been a steady decline. If you look at the records and kind of look at the energy, Hypo was able to keep us there for a little bit and then started losing a little bit. And then Gus came in at a couple of 9-win seasons, close to 10, couple of victories. But really, the biggest probably move was when we went from the American to the Big 12. So again, each decade kind of has its own little, I guess, caveat or thing that really made it unique. And so it's hard for me to kind of pick my favorite because each one of them are so very different. So I kind of got a corny little thing as far as what decade, and that's I'm going to say decade 4, which we haven't even started yet. But it's the anticipation. It's about being present and trying to enjoy the journey of wherever our UCF Knights take us and just live for the now. And so I guess, I'm more excited about where we are now. The past is the past. It's nice to go look back on it, but it's not something that, when you look at it, they each brought so many things so differently and a lot of positive, but some negative. I just think it's just natural progression. So I don't say, I mean, each one of them needed to be part of where we are today. So I don't really take one importance over another. So another question that you guys had for me was I was talking about a lot of the games in the 30 and 3 episodes that I did. And some of y'all are like, well, do I have some favorite games? Because there's definitely some ones out there. And so I'm going to pull it up. I decided to create a top 10. So I came up with probably the top 10 and I'll count them down. But let me just pull up my screen for those of you that are not just audio only. Some of you that are following me on YouTube. I'm going to pull up the screen, and those audio listeners, I'll just, tell you about who I have. Okay, for my top 10, it was based on a couple of things. And, there was more of about would I sit down and watch the game again? Like, did it intrigue me that much? Did it hold some high significance to like what was going on in our athletics at that time? And then also just which ones, and this is why I said my top 10, because it's one that bring personal feelings to me. So your top 10 may differ. You may really like some of these other ones that I left out. And I did kind of like some nominees, like, the ECU game that we called the Hell Perryman, that was a good play. Do I necessarily think that was a great game? Not so much. The Temple, J.J. Wharton's catch, and then coming back with Ronell Hall's big run and the extra or the field goal opportunity to win, where we thought we were going to lose or go to overtime. Yeah, it's a great, but it's again, I could just pull a snippet of that. I wouldn't sit down and probably watch the whole game. There's the Memphis game in the rain where we were down and shut them out in Heupel's year, and then come back and win a great one there. There's the Louisville on that Friday night. I could watch that last 3 minutes 100 times, but I wouldn't want to sit down and watch the whole game. And then, even some like at Penn State on the road at a Big Ten team, and Blake getting the victory there. So there were a lot of great games. But I narrowed it down based on what, like I said, the significance I thought, and I'll kind of explain each one of them and like my feelings. And these were all games I would probably sit down and watch from start to finish again, not just the snippets of good stuff. So we'll start off at number 10. And number 10 is Texas in 2007. And the reason I picked this one was because it was our first home game that we hosted in our stadium on campus. So I took this one and we lost it 35-32. But to me, it's a game I could watch again because just being in the Citrus Bowl all those years, and then to be able, I had season tickets that year, to be able to go and tailgate and walk into a stadium that's on campus. And it was hot. It was a miserable day as far as the temperature. And then, we didn't get the win, but I picked that one because of the significance of the importance. It was about, the future and how we were able to, get a stadium and not have to play downtown, and just the energy around that was just super. So I picked that as my 10th game. The ninth game I picked was at Alabama in 2000, and that's when we won on Bortelegi's kick. Now, the reason I picked that one, Alabama wasn't good that year. They were like 3-4, and they were trying to get a cupcake team. But the thing is that we had played so many SEC teams and just come up so close, so close. This being on the road, I felt like, really let people know that, we're competitive. Like we were not, we couldn't play these games week in, week out of the high level teams, but just because you were in a conference, you wanted to be careful if you scheduled UCF, because we could cause you some problems and get a victory. And so we won that one 40-38 on that one. I picked that one as my ninth. The eighth game I chose was the one versus Houston in 2009 that we hosted, and it was homecoming, and they were ranked. They were ranked number 13th. They were favored to win on homecoming at home. They were favored to win because they were having a great season. We were having a mediocre season. I think that year we went like 8-5 total, but really wasn't looking for us to do that. And the reason I picked that one is because I was there. We come out in all black uniforms. Like it's the first time we ever seen it. Black helmet, black shoes, black pants, black jerseys. In a homecoming game, it was a late kickoff, and we really surprised them. We would win that game 37-32, and it was our first ranked victory against an opponent in our home stadium, the new one. And I just felt like that one is significant in the fact of just saying that the atmosphere at our stadium is difficult. Like, and it's not the first team that said this, but when this is why it's so important for us to keep attendance up, even if we are not doing well, if we can keep attendance up and keep the energy, our teams feed off of it, and it is a very loud place to play, and that just kind of why I think that one is significant in that. Plus, it was a first ever ranked win in the stadium, or against an opponent. Number 7, I picked the Liberty Bowl versus Georgia in 2010. Now, one, beat another SEC team, which was great. We also got a little bit of revenge because we had lost the one at Georgia where we kind of got robbed on the one call and they turned it into offensive pass interference. And we would win this game 10-6. And it would just be, again, it's a 6-6 Georgia team. So they weren't stout as they normally were, but it was still beneficial, especially since the Liberty Bowl we had lost the last time we'd played against Mississippi State. And, so I felt like this one really gave us some good momentum because the Liberty Bowl was, again, a bigger bowl. And this was the second time we returned to it, but we get that victory. So I thought this was a good staple win for us as far as, hey, we can get into these bigger bowls, we can play these teams. Let's, keep going and hopefully getting some other opportunities, which we will talk about those in a moment. My sixth game was the Tulsa game in 2007, and it was the championship game because we played them twice that year, and it was the championship game. Now, again, so great that it was the first year of the stadium. So, first year of the stadium, we host the championship game for Conference USA, and we win it. We win it 44-25. Just again, just so much energy around there. Tulsa had been there earlier where we were 3-3 when we played them. So there was a little bit of energy still because it was a new stadium. A lot of people had season tickets that year, so it was still pretty full. And they knew they were going to have their hands full. But Tulsa had a great team that year. They had a 5,000-yard quarterback, 3,000-yard receivers, and a 1,000-yard running back. Gus Malzahn actually was their offensive coordinator at that time, and they put up a fight for a while, but really that second half we stretched it out and ended up pulling off the victory. But that was huge because it was our first year of the stadium. We get a conference championship. I mean, there was just so many positive things about that game. The next one, number 5, I have Baylor in the Fiesta Bowl in 2013. We won 52-42, and the reason I picked this one, of course, is our first BCS bowl win. It was also one that was very controversial as far as, why we were even in this bowl. They understood it because the Big East was getting ready to basically be dissolved and all those teams were moving into other conferences. Some of them already had. That's when we slid in there. We were really under the American as far as the blanket, and the American wasn't recognized as a power conference. Why are they getting a BCS bid? I probably would have not heard anything if it had been Louisville because Louisville was the one ranked and with Teddy Bridgewater, and they've probably been like they deserve it, but they just were really devaluing UCF. I think we were like a 17-point underdog. Every expert was picking with the highest confidence points that we would don't even belong on the field with Baylor, and we end up pulling out that game. So that was a huge BCS game as well as our first one, as well as the victory over Baylor, who was considered an elite team at that point. So unfortunately, we lost Blake after that one, but it was just it was a great victory and good energy for our Knights. Number 4 is Cincinnati in 2018. And the reason I picked this one is it was game day. I mean, when Kirk Herbstreit announced that he was coming there, we had all those victories in a row coming off Scott's undefeated 2017, and Cincinnati was ranked. We were ranked. The just again, I didn't go down there that morning, but just watching on television, just seeing how crazy it was. I did go to the game though, and one of my buddies actually was tailgating and stayed there. And he said it was funny. Everybody left. It was quiet. Then everybody kind of came back because it was a 7 p.m. kickoff. But it was just fantastic atmosphere. I mean, not much of a game 38-13, but I could watch it just because of remembering the noise and the 2 false starts at the beginning. There's just things about that game I wouldn't forget. I would love to relive that and watch it again. It was just one of my favorites, so that's why that's 4. Now, number 3, I picked the Memphis game in 2017, and again the championship game. Again, we had played them earlier in the year, just like we did Tulsa in the championship game, and this one was back and forth. It's funny because I've watched these games multiple times. It's not like I don't ever rewatch them. I do. And it's funny to me how it's still, even though I know the outcome, still like just watching it, like just takes you through the feelings that you felt with that championship game. And it was just, we knew we were just coming off a game where it was crazy, and now we got this one here, and this was to be undefeated and go to a BCS bowl. We wanted that berth again with such a great season, and it was just back and forth. I mean, we would go up, and then they would go up, and then we would go up, and then they would come back, and then it comes down to the final wire where they're kicking a field goal to win it, and they don't get it. Then we go to one overtime, then we go to the second overtime, get an interception, place goes crazy. I mean, it was just an absolute fun game to watch, and that's why it's my third. Now, the second one is actually the Peach Bowl versus Auburn in 2017, where we won 24-17. Now, some people will say, well, why is this not the first? And I'll get to that, in a moment. But again, this was a big game for us because, again, another BCS bowl game against the Auburn team that this time, had beaten number one Georgia and number one Alabama throughout the year, but then lost to Georgia in the conference championship game. And one of the things of note was they played the first game of the year in Mercedes-Benz, lost to Clemson, and then they played the SEC championship against Georgia and lost to Georgia, and then they lost to us. They played three times in one year, one football calendar, and lost all of them. I think they even went back the next year for another game. It was like, oh my gosh, they're going there four times in like a 13-month period. But it was not very good to them in the 2017 season. So we ended up getting the victory there. And again, just perfect season, 13-0. I've kind of explained about my whole national championship, but again, this is a game I could just sit down and watch and just seeing the emotions, hearing Scott talk about, can they match the energy? Because, they're going to come out, and we did come out slow, and then we did match it, and just all the things about that game. But it just cannot top this game for me. And again, I know some people may flip flop some of these games and be like, well, that was our national title game. And again, I don't really claim that, but the one for me that just ultimately is the number one is Black Friday game versus USF in 2017. And I mean, I remember I wasn't at the game. I was watching it actually with my dad, and I was watching, which is, I think it was a 3:30 kickoff, which was perfect for him because Friday nights, can't get really. I think it was like that. I don't think it was a night game. I think it was like in the afternoon, but it turned to evening if I remember correctly. But it was 3:30, and I remember sitting there watching it with him and just could not believe the kickoff return that Mike Hughes did. And just like I said, just two ranked teams, the winner. And the reason I picked this one too is because if we don't win that game, USF goes to play the championship game. We definitely don't get the BCS bowl bid. So 2 and 3 don't even happen without one. And so I guess that's why I did it. Now I still think the Auburn win is bigger than the Memphis win, but I just think this win overall uh, just brings back the most. I mean, I know a lot of people were watching that game because, again, that's one reason moving it to Friday. Of course, we're all black again because of Black Friday. I mean, it just brings back so many memories. So that's my order in there from 1 to 10. I know those listening, you just listen to them, but those of you that are watching here, you can kind of see them on the screen. And let me know in the comments, which ones you feel like maybe I got wrong, or, if you have some that you thought were a little bit better. I mean, I'd be curious to see what you think, but a couple of you were asking me, so I wanted to put that out. And again, even the decades thing, you can do that as well. All right. So let me, pull this down, and I'll go over. There's one other thing that people were kind of asking me about, and I'll share you my thoughts on. All right. So the last thing that people asked me were like, I've had some people hitting me up, even on like Facebook and Messenger and stuff, just kind of asking me some questions. And so just wanted to kind of state that out there. And the question is like, who are the players I'm most interested in this year? And there's one I'd like to notably put in there. It's not in my top five, but it's in there. Is I do have one I know since he was probably about four years old, Caden Peening. His mom worked with me at Dr. Phillips, was my right hand person the whole time I was there until some situations happened. We both we're kind of done wrong at Dr. Phillips, but I've kept up with her, when she moved back to Cincinnati, and so glad when Caden, picked UCF. I'm hoping to maybe get him on and talk to him a little bit on one of my shows. So, but definitely just I'm excited to see what he can do. Plays tight end, so I feel like yes, Wade will be there, but I think Caden's going to come in there and he could be the future at that position. And the fact that he was hurt a little bit last year, so he didn't get a lot of games. So, he still has it. And even with the 5 for 5, he still does. So he's got 4 years and looking forward to seeing what he can do. So, but he's just kind of an honorable mention. So let's run down my five. So at number five, I have Will Stone. And the reason I have Will that high is because we just don't know what we have with our kicking game. No doubt he has a strong leg. We've seen him doing kickoffs, but he has not done place kicking, like, the extra points, field goals. So, again, not question the leg, but, is he the person that will be able to come in and give us consistency or get 3 points or we really need it? And, what kind of range does he have? So he's definitely one I'm going to be paying attention to. The fourth one, Josh Deary. You come from a small school and we hear Monmouth and we're like, okay, but he had some decent yardage there, and he doesn't have, like, most of the time those places don't have such a strong quarterback. Playing with a much stronger quarterback this year, so he's one I just want to keep an eye on. I mean, just don't know much about him. They kind of have the nickname Scary Dairy. He has some great film that they put out. I'm like, man, he looks really, really good. And that's even with Keywan Jenkins throwing to him. Like, wait till Alonzo throws to him. I mean, I want to keep an eye on him. Like, from our receiving core, I think he could be the one that really, really intrigues me. For my third one, it's Horace Lockett. And the reason is because of being injured last year. He put in the portal, came back. I mean, I think he can be dominant up front. We're going to need it. We're going to need to be able to stop the run. That's going to be key, especially on the road. Stopping the run. I feel great about our secondary, but it's like, and I feel good about, some of the linebacking crew there too. So I really want to see him be be a force up front and stay healthy. The second one for me is Tavion Swint. And the reason is I'm hearing about, the running back room, and there's a lot about the transfers, and with Chambers and Duke Watson, and they they will get some touches, I have no doubt, but I really feel like Tavion is going to end up being that number one. They've talked so highly of him. So even last year when he got hurt, they were like, oh, if we would have had him in there. I just feel like he may be the next, like, what we would consider like RJ Harvey, like somebody that's that dominant that you just have to give that many touches to. So I'm going to be curious to see about Tavion, and really looking forward to seeing what he does this year in the running back room. And of course, number one, we haven't got it right since Dylan Gabriel. I'm looking at Alonzo Barnett. We got to have better quarterback. And that's number one thing. I mean, got to have a better quarterback in there that's doing the things that we need to do, being the leader and leading this team. So that's pretty much my players I'm kind of watching, and just looking forward to, like I said, still with some of the other ones. It's not like I'm not looking at them, but those are my top five and some of my reasonings for that. Again, some of you have reached out. I just want to put it out on this one and just say, look, if you want to shoot me an email about some things you have questions on, ucf.onemorenight@gmail.com. Remember, the one is the number one, not spelled out, and night is like the night, UCF night with a K. So ucf.onemorenight at gmail.com. I also have a couple of social media platforms. Twitter is at UCF underscore one more night. And my Instagram is UCF underscore one more night. Both of those, one as the number itself, not spelled out, and then night as in the UCF night. So if you want to, give it that, I'm actually full swing getting back into the classroom. I was there Friday getting things set up. Monday's another optional day. I'm going to go in and get set up. But we start back mandatory on Tuesday with pre-plan. And so I'll get into my normal, like, one weekday post, and then typically this Sunday post, because I'll do it after the games on Saturdays. So it'll be Typically one during the week, one on Saturdays, not as long as those 30 and 3. This one's about the sweet spot, 25 to 30 minutes. So hope you enjoyed listening to, like I said, my take. We'd love to hear back. Just, shoot me a comment or send me to one of those things, and let me know what your thoughts are. And I'm just looking forward. Tomorrow actually starts fall camp, so I'll be able to start watching some interviews with some coaches and some players, and we're getting close. We're getting close. We're less than 4 weeks away, so just getting really excited about the season. And you guys, just thanks a lot. Thanks a lot for following on. Please like, subscribe, get notifications. Just if you can follow along, promote my show. I really appreciate it, because you guys kind of help it grow. I mean, one, I love talking about it, but two, it's also to, hopefully get you interested in some of my perspectives and topics that I'm talking about. So until later on in midweek, as always, go Knights. Charge on.